Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Photography Podcast. I don't know what we're on because I don't know whether the Lakes counts as an episode or not. We didn't put the Lakes one on to the podcast, by the way, because I thought the sound just wouldn't have worked. So this one obviously is going out on the podcast. Anyway, we're all here this week. Hello, guys. How are you all?
All right.
Very good.
Yeah.
I didn't realise there was a podcast. I've got a face for that sort of thing.
Nor did I, Dave. Sorry, nor did I.
We actually do all right on the podcast. You know, we get about 150 listens per week, which is which is not too shabby, I think.
Wow,
that's pretty good. It's a bit ironic that the only one which was actually a podcast because it was recorded in a pod is not a podcast.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we could give a quick brief overview of what it was for those listening on the podcast. It was wet. Right, so moving on. Competition entries. How many are we up to, Dave? 90 odd?
We've just had a couple more in today, so there's 90-something on the site.
Wow.
We're up to 100 now, exactly.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
I'll put those up later.
Yeah, keep them coming because, you know, you might as well. We're really, I mean, I know we say it every week, but there's some excellent ones. Yeah. Some really excellent ones on there. So it's going to be really interesting one to judge for us all. What we've been up to? What we've been up to this week? Anything exciting, guys? Anyone want to report?
Not much in the way of photography. It's been horrific. Absolutely horrific round here. Although I'm looking forward to next week. I'm doing a camera club talk at Connors Quay, and it's my first one in person since the pandemic, because I switched over to doing Zoom ones free of charge to kind of help camera clubs out. But I'm driving up the coast to go and see a room full of people, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Very good.
I switched to doing some free ones, but no one was interested. They said, you got to pay us. I said, Mom, I'm not going to go that far. All right. Where is Connors Quay?
Just the other side of Flint from me.
Oh, that's
kind
helpful.
of where the River Dee meets the sea, near Chester.
Ah, Chester. Right, excellent. Oh, okay, cool, excellent. Do you want to give us a brief, like, what's your talk going to be about for anyone from Connors Quay?
Photography, landscapes. No, I've got a standard one that I can pretty much do in my sleep now. I drop a few new pictures in every now and then as they come up, but I've been doing this same talk for about 4 years now. It's entitled 4 Seasons in North Wales, a celebration of my favourite locations.
Link to booking in the description below, everybody. Anyone else? What's anyone else been up to this week, or has got any plans? Anybody?
Well, I had a really nice morning earlier on in the week where I went and I was very quick because I wasn't planning to go. I think it was Sunday actually. I went out. I hadn't really been planning to go out, and there was this absolutely stunning sunrise, and it's got to be one of the most impressive sunrises I've seen. I did actually start to video it. I was planning to do it. Well, I did a sort of round trip. There's a really good ring road from my house which goes round through Torridon and then comes back down through Loch Carron and back to where my house is. So I did the drive, but I didn't get any other photos, and it was just this one sunrise which was absolutely stunning, and I just did a typical kind of stop at the road, jump out, grab the image. And I don't know if it was a particularly good image, but it was just such an amazing sunrise. But that's been my only sort of trip out for photography this week.
Excellent.
I don't know if I'll share the video.
I'm sure you will.
Well, I think Jay's been busy this week recovering from liver failure. How are you?
I knew it wasn't going to be long before somebody mentioned it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my webcam tonight, guys. Sorry, I'm just looking very jaundiced.
He's not very good at adjusting white balance.
No, I would adjust it if I knew where to adjust it. I can't access the damn bloody properties of it to adjust it.
Is that a drip behind you?
Yeah, it should be, shouldn't it, really?
Oh,
yeah, so if I keel over halfway through, then don't worry, I'm fine, it's just my white balance. What is going on in the background?
What is that noise?
Just usual blind baking.
Blind bake.
You could burn your fingers doing that.
Yeah. They're only going to be 2 minutes. 2 minutes once I logged on. They were going to be fine. So
Is it
Yeah.
mince pies?
I don't know. What are you cooking?
They don't know. They can't see it.
You right? Yeah, won't go there. Daz, you up to anything this week? Or been
No,
up to
mate.
anything? Or
No, nothing at all. Just boring work, unfortunately. Work overload at the moment. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I've not been out with the camera since obviously we went to the lakes, and I can't see me getting out with the camera for at least another 2 weeks.
Okay. Jamie, when you're feeling better, you got any plans?
No, I haven't got any plans at the moment. No, I just keep an eye on the weather forecast and see what it does, and if it's looking as though there's going to be any mist or fog, I'll nip out. If not, I'll stay in bed.
Stay well,
But,
mate. Stay well.
Yeah.
I know. I'll
Best
do my
wishes and
mate.
everything.
Thanks for
Yeah.
your caring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right. Oh, I forgot to say, we're not here next week. Jamie's got dialysis. No, we're not here next week because it's my daughter's 18th. So, and no one else will edit. So it's, if I'm not here, then it just all falls apart. I've got something I can share. Where's it gone? I got this a couple of days ago. It's a Samyang 35mm f2.8, courtesy of Mr. Justin Crane. He didn't give it to me. I had to buy it from him, but he's getting rid of all of his Sony gear. So he said, "Oh, do you want to buy that?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I'm heading into London tomorrow. I'm going to go and do a bit of street photography with it. So yeah, because I haven't been out. I went out to a little woodland today, but it's got beautiful colours, and I've sort of drive past it most days, but it's very overgrown, so I sort of gave up on that. So that's what I'm doing.
So where are you going to London? Whereabouts in London?
I think I'm going to do something during the day at Brick Lane, sort of Shoreditch around there, take some sort of photos around there, and then in the evening I'm going to wait till it gets dark, and then I'm going to go to maybe Chinatown, that sort of area. I want to not copy, but I want to, and I will mention this in the video. I want to do something in the style of Joshua Jackson. He does he uses colours really well, reds and blues, and things like that. So I want to go and try and see if I can emulate him with my photography. Whether I do or not, I don't know. And I'm also going to take those stupid glasses as well to see if.
You're not, are you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm going to take them and wear them and see.
one of us is going to have to come and bail you out.
Yes, see how quickly I get punched in them. But I thought it'd be good because my plan was to do a video saying, can these glasses be used for street photography? And then me just go, no, with a black eye. So that was my plan. Anyway, should we move on to something, a topic?
Yep.
Just make as much noise as you want.
I'm intrigued now. I'm intrigued what she's cooking. That sounds like baking paper.
They're baking beads. So like the little
Baking?
beads, baking beads.
Beads.
Yeah. So like
Beads.
you
like marbles.
So if you cook not that I know, but if you cook a flan or something, right? You put the beads, you put the pastry in the baking dish, and then you put the beads in, and then you cook it, and then you do the next thing.
All right.
Because otherwise, what you put in the flan would seep into the pastry before it's cooked.
Then you watch
Genius.
Bake Off.
Yeah. So there you go. So yeah, that's what she's doing. Beth, what are you making? A mess. What are you actually making? a cheese and onion quiche. There you go. So that's what she's making. So yeah, thanks for your interest, everyone, and put your recipes in for next week. If there's anything you'd like us to be cooking in the background next week,
Better just knock it up while we're recording. Yeah.
The noisier the better, really. If you could find something where you've got to like smash out a steak or something, then.
Oh,
Cheese
sure,
and onion
sure.
quiche, Gary.
Okay, thank you. How's it going?
Yeah, really well.
Yeah, noisily.
So good. It's so good. It wouldn't be noisy if it was going well.
Okay, all right, excellent. All right.
Tales from the kitchen.
Yeah. So anyway, shall we move on to a topic? Now, Dave, you weren't here for the lakes, so you can be a sort of like a pseudo judge, and I want you to pick the best one, and they win a prize. We're going to share.
What's the prize?
Just
Cheese and onion quiche.
no, that's mine. Yeah, we're just going to share a few of our photos from the lakes, and just because we haven't shared them copiously over social media already or anything, have we? So
I haven't showed any.
no, you haven't. So I'll tell you what. Why don't you go first, then, Daz? And we're not going to take loads of time off over this. We'll just make it quite brief because
I've got well, only because they're on the.
27.
I have got a few actually. Right, can you see that?
Yes.
Now I was thinking about the clouds in this, and I've actually printed this photo, and I did darken the clouds down a little bit, and I also cropped the clouds out completely. And I quite like the clouds, and I spoke to Helen, and I said, like, what do you like? Because obviously she's like a non-photographer, so she'll just look at the photo, from a I'll say a layman's point of view, but not perhaps as critical as we would. And she actually really liked the clouds, and she said, no, I think it kind of adds something to the photo. You can see kind of where, the light is. And she said, no, I think without the clouds, it doesn't quite look as good. So I took her advice, or she pretty much backed up my advice. And I've printed that one, and I really like it. I'm actually going to get that one framed.
Yeah, I think the clouds do work in that one, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think if I crop them below the clouds, it also kind of, there's not a lot of separation then between the top of the photo and the top of the fell. So, I quite like that. The next one is not a photo that I'd ever dream of printing. I probably would never even share this photo, but it was just because of the rainbow, and I thought I'd kind of add that into the list.
It's weird, Daz, talking about that one, because I was exactly the same. I was really hopeful for my rainbow photo, and
was you?
it no good at all.
No,
It just didn't work.
No,
as I say.
no. It was only because there was a rainbow there, because there was no
Yeah.
light at all.
Yeah.
So I just thought, right, I'd kind of share it. This photo, actually, I really liked this photo. There was a little bit of kind of heavy cropping involved with this one, as with the next one. But I think it kind of works. I would like to have incorporated more from that large kind of yellowy orangey tree below the bottom of the trunk. I would like to incorporate more, but there was something in the way that I cloned out, and Content Aware did a fairly good job. What's up?
Was it me?
No, it wasn't you and your umbrella.
No, you weren't up there because I got one.
No.
Anyway.
But yeah, when I was cloning, the Content Aware done an okay job, but I started tidying it up, and I thought, I don't know. You know when you've doctored an image and your eyes just almost automatically go to it, and I thought, no, I can't really live with that. So it was quite a heavy crop, but even so, I'm still quite pleased with this image.
Yeah. That pine at the top of the that's that pine at the top of that one, and then you've got the silver birch down the bottom left. That sort of triangle you've got, there, I think works really well.
Yeah,
especially because that pine at the top is backlit with the mist behind it.
I did put a little radial filter over that one and just kind of pop that one out a little bit more, just for that reason. Because what you said, Jay, there is kind of like the three trees, in this image. One being very prominent. And the other two have been a little bit more subtle, but I thought that one worked well.
Yep.
The next one, this was on the River Brathay as well, and this one was such a shame. When we were speaking, Gal, and I think you said, I don't suppose there'd be any of us that have that share images with much sky in.
Yeah.
Well, this was a lot wider. Obviously, this was a quite a wide 3x2 composition. This, and I loved it. You know, where you've got them double trees on the right hand side, but they're moving over to the left. You've got that mound of trees, and obviously the mound went up and then came back down, and the trees were lovely, and that's the composition I went for. But no matter what I did, I couldn't get the sky to work.
Yeah.
And as much as I messed about with it, in the end I just thought I'm going to have to cut my losses here and just kind of compose this image the best I can without sharing too much sky, and that's what I kind of ended up with. And this is, I mean, I know I've got to wait a whole year, but this is an area that I'd go back to and try and shoot this again, and hopefully we get a better sky next time.
Well, I don't know why we didn't go back on the morning we left. I don't know what the problem with you guys was. I was quite happy to go back.
That was tough, wasn't it?
Because you couldn't be asked to get out of the car, Gary. That's what it
No,
was.
you couldn't.
Oh yeah, that was right. That was it.
Yeah.
The next one, again, I probably won't ever be sharing this one. It was a scene that I liked for the conditions, but again, you know, there was no light, so I just kind of played around with this just to see what I could do with it. But yeah, I like the composition. I like the scene, but the conditions weren't quite right for it. But nevertheless, and it was funny. The next couple I'm going to show you is the ones that I had high hopes for, yew tree tarn, and when I got them back on the computer, do you know what? I was really disappointed with them. This was probably one of the best shots, but again, this is heavily cropped because I just found there was a lot of distractions. So I was trying to make something that would stand out, and it was just like that tree on the left and the bushes on the right was the only things there that I thought was of interest in this particular kind of composition. So again, that was a heavy crop, but nothing that I'm overly excited about. This was the image that I think we all shot on the way back to the car, but again, I think it looks great from the roadside, and I was quite excited about it. But again, there was so much going on behind that little kind of clump of trees that, yeah, again, you know, I like the shot. Don't get me wrong, but I had to put a real strong vignette around it, which is something that I don't normally do, just to try and isolate the centre. Now, the last image I'm going to show you, right? Anyone got any sunglasses? Because you need to put sunglasses on for this, right? And you need to stare at it for a little while. Again, it was the very last shot we took when we got pissed wet through returning to King's Hell. We had no light.
Okay.
So I thought, right, let me just do something a bit different. You ready?
Yeah.
So I was playing around with it, and I just thought, let's have a little bit of fun. And that's what I come up with. And do you know what? When it's left on the screen for a while, I kind of quite like it. But when you go from a very muted photo and jump over to this, it is a little bit, whoa, you know. But then when I'm sitting here kind of on my phone looking at something, and I glance up, I think, do you know what? It's not too bad, actually.
I think that day called for something like that because
Yeah.
I didn't even get the camera out of the bag. I just
No.
went back, back down as quick as I could.
Right,
Cool.
yeah, so that's that was my images. Sorry if I took a while. But
It's interesting that there's a lot of similar images there, isn't there, as we expected
Yeah.
it to be for all of
Yeah.
us, really.
Mine are
Yeah.
going to look
Yeah.
pretty much like that as well. Shall I do mine quickly first? Is that all right? Second, is that all right? Yeah. So that's the first one, which is really similar to yours, Daz.
yeah,
The one with the,
well, well, I think we was all reacting to the light, wasn't we? So it
Yeah.
wasn't as if we all stood in the same tripod holes.
No.
It was where the light
yeah.
turned up. That's where we all pointed our cameras.
Yeah, you just didn't have a lot of choice really over, you just got what you got, and I guess the
Yeah.
only difference is how we decide to process them. So that was the first one. I'm just going to scooch through these actually. That one was Jamie in action. I just thought I'd show you that one
like that.
quickly. Yeah, I like the light over on the far side, and I just thought try and silhouette Jamie a little bit against the sky, and And
I
have
was
that light
loving
there.
life at that time.
Oh,
Absolutely
you were.
loving life.
Oh, you
I
were.
was like pig in poo.
If you zoom in, you can see the smile on your face.
Yeah.
That's another one really quickly that I just
Oh, that's
took.
nice.
Well, I just thought that a lot
Didn't
of
think
them.
about black and white.
Yeah, a lot of them were very samey that I took. So I just looked at that and thought I'm just going to try and do something a bit different. So I just went sort of high contrast black and white. This one's an interesting one because you were talking about the sky. So I put this photo on Twitter with the sky in,
Right.
and then Mark Robbins on Twitter actually commented and said, like, I don't mean to be rude and please, tell me to shut up, but I think it would look better without the sky, and I think the sky is distracting. And then when I cropped it down, I was like, no, actually, yeah, he's absolutely right. It does look a lot better without the sky in. So you see, I can take critique every now and again. So I'm just going to go through these. Hang on. Where are we at? So this is onto a second day. I think this is similar to one that you took, Daz, and sort of discarded.
Yeah.
It's not amazing. The light wasn't great, but I just thought the house, giving it a bit of scale, and the autumn colours made it reasonably interesting. So
Did you clone out the white van?
yeah,
Because I've got one with a white van in front of the
yeah.
house.
Well, if you zoom into it, I don't know if I can. How do you zoom in? It's a terrible cloning job because I've put a bush in front of the front door. But I just thought no one's gonna notice that, are they? No one's gonna care. So yeah. So yeah. And then this one is another one from that day, and I think it looks a
Yeah,
bit
it's
sort
nice.
of painterly, like
It does.
a bit
Yeah,
like a
it does.
painting
Yeah.
more than a.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that drew me towards this shot in the first place, I think we both, Jamie and Sam, both stopped. It's just that tree, those sort of middle trees with that little mound behind it, and then the mountain behind that. But then when I took the shot and expanded the scene, I think it I think it looks all right. It works quite well. And then this is one that's similar to yours, Daz, that you were saying.
Yeah.
You weren't as happy as well. I really like it personally. I just think it's exactly what I'd intended to shoot. So when I get a shot that's how I wanted it, I'm normally sort of like, yeah, okay, I'm pretty happy with that.
No, let me just, because when we first got there, I stayed a lot around the tarn when you guys started to kind of walk around, and I was really excited about the reflections. I spent a long time there with the reflections, but when I got them home, there was just too much going on.
Yeah,
And that's what I was meant to say, that I was really excited about getting home and looking at my yew tree tarn photos, and I was a bit disappointed in them, just because it was such a beautiful place, but trying to isolate something, I struggled in the end to turn that into a pleasing photo.
Yeah. There were a lot. I took a lot, and there were only maybe 3 that I actually went,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And this is the last one that I've really done anything with so far. And I think that's probably where you were
That's
looking.
nice.
I think that's probably the clump you were looking at, but I was further round, and my aim was to try and get, you see that sort of bit at the top, this really brown bit at the top, that was the bit I wanted reflected. I don't know why, I just thought if I add everything in up to that, it's going to work really well, and I think it's all right.
So I think that's a cracking photo. That
It's nice.
Yeah.
Like
I
that.
really like that. I didn't see that at all.
Well, that's when you guys were taking that one shot, and I was just stood at the car. So maybe I just got a slightly different angle on it that maybe you didn't see. So
I like
yeah,
that.
so that's mine, all done and dusted. Okay,
Shall I go next?
yeah.
Okay, right.
I hope you're scoring these, Dave.
Making notes.
Excellent.
Right, so mine, I took loads. These are all my starred ones that I narrowed them down to, that I've shared some of them and some I haven't shared. But as you'd expect, I sort of gravitated towards woodland as being the ones that I preferred. And out of all of them, I think that I took this was the one that I think is my favourite. I just and there's several reasons for that. One, because I just love the shot. I love the colours, obviously. The composition I think works quite nicely. But the fact that, as I called it, waiting for Gary, the fact that it was just one of those shots that I'd stopped while me and Darren waited for Gary to stop falling down the steps for a second, and grabbed the camera out the bag, saw this shot, and literally just grabbed it and then put the camera back in, and we carried on down. And it was sort of one of those opportunistic shots where you see a composition, you see everything, and you just grab it and you take it. And I was really, really happy with it. I just think everything works with it. As I say, the colours are just fantastic, obviously. But no, I was really happy with that particular shot.
When I saw that one, I felt personally that's probably the best that I've seen out of what I'd seen so far from us, that one.
This was another one right next to that same clump of trees that I quite like as well. You know, simple, cluttered little composition, but I think it quite works. On the theme of woodland, as we went up, if you recall, I did stop briefly and took a few shots there. And I haven't shared this one either, but I quite like this one as well. I think that one works quite nicely. You got some nice form with these trees in the middle. This one laying down here.
Where was this?
On the way up. Do you remember when Daz was having problems with his camera, where he started to video and then he stopped? It was that tree was lit up, wasn't it? But the time I got my camera out, that tree we'd lost the light on that little tree there.
I remember.
But the rest of it still works quite nicely. This was handheld as well. I think it was handheld. I think, wasn't it? So I think that I've not shared it, but I think that works. It's quite a nice woodland shot. It just shows off the autumnal colours, doesn't it? More than anything else. And I've got similar shots as you here in terms of what I'm going to go through them. I quite like that black and white that I did. Sort of the way the light falls on this tree down here, I think worked quite nicely. So that sort of ray of light down there, that worked quite nice. And I've got a very similar shot to you there, Daz, with the golden tree. Yeah. And I think there was some sort of a railing here. I don't know whether you cloned the same one out, but it was right in front of it. So that's quite nice. And yeah, that was it. And this was the shot that you also just talked about. That actually not that one, it's this one here that I edited and shared. Very similar. I'd do the same with you, put a bit of a vignette around it, but I quite like it. I love the tones and the colours in it. And yeah, I think that for me it was a case of getting autumn and really, really getting the autumn colours in the shots that we managed to get. And I can tick off autumn now as I'm happy that I've got some autumnal shots.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Sam?
Yep. Okay. Right. Yeah. Nice. So very, very similar to you guys, except this is when the rain started coming down. So we just started to walk back down, and then I saw these rain showers coming over, and I was like, well, I've got to take some shots whilst those rain showers are catching the light. And I've got a few other shots from here, but actually with this one, I quite liked the square crop. So I went for square crop, and same with you, Daz, in terms of getting the clouds in. I just liked having that sort of element of showing where the light was coming from.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of others I've got where I probably might crop out the sky. So I think I've got a wider shot, very similar to the one you showed, Gary, which has more of a valley with a bit of a river at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's still a couple of images which I've not edited yet, which I might do something with. But I think this is probably my favourite so far. Next one, my computer's. What's it doing? There we go. Yeah. So that's same as Daz when you took that shot just before the rain appeared. This is one which I took, and I think it's probably a bit soft. I don't think I think I was just. This is the first one I took, so I got the camera out, set it up, took a shot, and then the rain started, and I put the camera away, thinking I'd have another chance at it. And I didn't, but I actually think it works okay.
I like that, Sam.
Yeah. So
oh, thanks. Yeah,
I really like that. It's really nice.
I've obviously warmed it up slightly. I might maybe drop down on the warmth a little bit on it, but yeah, no, I was pleased to at least get a shot before the rain came, because I think I tried when it was tipping down with rain, and that one was just, you know, had too much water on the front of the lens because for some reason I didn't have my umbrella. But yeah, I think this one came out
Very
okay.
nice, mate.
And then
That's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I
this
like
is
that.
the one down by, I can't remember the name of this place.
Clappers Gate Bridge.
That's it, yeah. And this is the sort of shot which I was after, where we could sort of see the water behind the leaves, and I wanted to find somewhere where there was just a little bit of white water behind the leaves. So it's sort of more of a kind of intimate shot, and I did take a shot of the bridge, and I'm not going to do anything with it. But this one I think turned out okay, and it was.
Yeah, that's really lovely. That Sam.
That's
Oh,
lovely.
nice.
That is
Thank
really
you.
I remember looking at that. You showed me that on the back of the camera.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking then that's a really good shot.
Oh, thank you. And then the last one's this one from U Tree Time, which I think Jamie, we both took a very similar
Yep.
image.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's not my favourite, but I think it sort of came out okay. Again, it's just showing off that autumn colour, and having this fence running through the middle of it.
Yeah.
But it was.
I felt the same, Sam. It's when you were there, it really worked in my
Yeah.
head, and I think when you looked at it, it really worked. But actually, then looking at it back on the screen, you think it's
Yeah.
okay. But I think because we didn't have the light, it was
Yeah.
all pretty much the same colours.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I must admit, there's probably a few others in there which I haven't edited yet, which I might still go back to at a later date. But I quite like to leave a bit of a gap sometimes before going back to.
Well, I think
Really?
that your first image, Sam, and your third image, I think they're crackers.
Yeah, they're
Absolute
excellent.
crackers.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Darren.
very
Yeah,
good.
Love them.
Yeah.
I'd be very proud if I had them.
those are definitely my two favourites.
So
Yeah.
Dave, comments, please, Dave.
Okay. Chapter 1.
Do you know what? He's been thinking about making notes. He hasn't. He's been making notes about his whiskey. He's thinking, right, okay. As we've been sharing the screen, he's been sitting there sipping,
Wow.
thinking, oh, this one, okay, let's go for another malt, shall we?
I'm going to kind of approach them in order. First off, your third one, Darren, with that fabulous light, which is very similar to Gary's. I really like that. I thought that was fabulous. And I agree about leaving the clouds in. I would have left them in as well.
Well, I did actually print that. I don't know if you can see it. I did actually print, and that's printed really nicely.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
pleased with that, and I am going to frame that because that's a good
Yeah,
a good
don't
memory.
blame
That
Link in the description below.
link in the
I
description.
mean, the thing is, it's one of those sort of camera club judge things where, you can't have a highlight that pulls your eye up and down the image, and for me, that's pants. Having that context, it's part of the scene, isn't it? It was
Yeah.
happening, and I think you've captured it beautifully and controlled the highlights. No excuse for blowing them, of course.
No excuse. Excuse.
So I really like Gary's last one with the reflections. I agree with you, Gary. I think that's a cracking image.
Yeah.
Jamie, the first one, your favourite one, I absolutely love that. And what I really like about it is that curving bit at the bottom with the bracken. I think that frames the scene really well, and it sort of calms it down a bit. It anchors it a bit. So you sort of get away with the chaos a bit more because of that, the way you've framed it up. And that's a master of work there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Sam, the first one with the rain, absolutely fabulous. I mean, it's something you don't see much in landscape photography. You see snow, you see everything, but you don't see that many with rain in them. And when you can pull it off like that, because it's obviously difficult to shoot. I mean, you had plenty of opportunity that weekend. But no, I thought that was really good. And the square crop, I thought that was great, and I really like your shot, Sam, with the golden tree, because what I really liked about that is the texture almost makes it look 3D. So it just enhances the depth in the image with those mountains dropping away in the background. And of course the backlit leaves with the stream. Masterwork. But my winner is Darren's high key, that last one. I could look at that all day long. In fact, if you were to print it off and send it to me, I'd be your best friend forever. I thought that was...
It's yours.
It's yours. I don't know what it is about it. It's just got a kind of atmosphere and a romanticism to it that I don't think it's overblown at all. I loved it straight away. Easy win for me.
That's really nice to know. Thank you.
No worries.
Very generous.
Excellent.
We should do this feature every week.
Yeah,
Dave makes an excellent judge.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that everyone listening on the podcast is really enjoying the visuals, and I promise you there won't be anything more like, no, wait, we've got LPOTY. Thanks, Dave, for that.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
Good
thank you.
judge.
Yeah, I think overall there were some excellent shots there, even if I do say so myself. I wasn't just talking about mine. Yeah,
Sorry, I do want to wee, but just
Okay.
before we go, do you remember you mentioned, because it just jogged my memory, you said when Jamie took that shot and he said, when Darren was having trouble with his camera,
Oh yeah,
I sent it off for repair.
yeah.
This is the Sony 6400, my kind of vlogging camera, and you're right, Gal, it was the internal battery.
Yeah,
Yeah, 180 quid.
yeah. I'd have done it for 150, mate.
It's not too late. I can get it back. Yeah, he rang me up and said, like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I ain't got a choice, have I, really? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
I
can't
thought,
throw the camera away over that. But
No,
it is a bit.
no.
It's a bit out of order that the battery's gone. How long have you had it for?
I want to say 3 years. No, it might be longer, actually. No, do you know what? It is longer. I think it might... No, I don't know. It might be about 3 years.
I've never known a camera though have the internal battery go that I've ever owned. So, and I've had cameras longer than 3 years, and there must be people out there with second-hand cameras that haven't had that problem. So, sort yourselves out, Sony, is what I say.
Sort yourself out.
Yeah.
Right, now I want to wee.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
So moving on, let's talk about something non-photography for a moment. We're gonna. I don't know if you remember, it was a long time ago. We did Room 101, which is basically anything that we'd like to get rid of. So we'd stick it. Where is Room 101? Oh God, we've done this conversation before. Was it 1984?
1984, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we're going to put it in a room, never to be seen again. So I think we're all well prepared for this, aren't we? No. Sam is prepared. So Sam, I'm going to go to you first. What would you like to put in Room 101?
Yeah, well, so I'm one of these sort of grumpy old men before my time, really. I drive a Volvo and listen to Radio 4, despite being 37. But and so I've always got things which annoy me, and I want to put into Room 101. And then when you put the topic into the group chat, I realised I'd forgotten everything which I thought of previously, which I wanted to stick into Room 101. But something came up the other day when I can't remember what I was doing, but it was pop-ups on websites. Drive me mad. Every time I open a website and you're just trying to click on something and do something, and then a pop-up appears, and I'm going to include in that for chats where it has like, if you need any help, join our chat. They drive me mad, and maybe it's an age thing, but like I can't stand it when you're just trying to access a website to go and look at like a product or something if you're shopping online, and then this thing flashes up and you've got to close it before you can actually get to where you've got to go to, and then this little face appears and says, "I'll have a chat with Dave about whatever." It's like, I don't like, if that happened in a shop, if you were walking into John Lewis or somewhere and this thing just suddenly appeared in your way and you had to kind of hit your way through it in order to get into the shop, it would drive you nuts. So
but it would be all right if somebody appeared and you were allowed to sort of hit them out the way.
Actually, yeah, that would probably be. But yeah, so I'm going to stick pop-ups on websites into Room 101.
I get that. It's the ones where you because I know a little bit about it. You can tell the pop-ups to appear on a certain action. So after a certain amount of time, or if someone does something with their mouse, and there's one where you can tell it, you can say if they move their mouse towards a tab, or another, or something else, say, are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure? It's like, yeah, I want to leave. That's why I'm moving my thing up. But yeah, I get that. Yeah, fair.
The ones that irritate me the most, in the same vein, because they're so pointless, are these European directive to accept cookies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because, you know, we're at a stage now where I'm sure nobody's ever gone, oh, what, cookies or no, I'm not visiting this site. So, and yet people still put them on. I've never voluntarily put one on. I mean, you know, being as I'm in the industry, I've had clients say, do I need a cookies pop-up? And I've said, only if you want to piss your visitors off. And they say, yeah, but won't I fall foul of the legislation? I said, yeah, but they're not going to come round with a battering ram, hammer your front door down and cart you off. So, you know, don't do it.
Well, soon to be changed anyway. Now we're out of the EU GDPR.
Yeah. And while we're talking about those sort of things, I've got two. These aren't even mine, but I've got two that I'm going to say. One is when you see, I've noticed them a lot, the Black Friday sales. There's a certain photographer, and it's like he's all over. He's got sponsored ads all over Instagram at the moment, and Facebook, going like, my normal course or my normal joining fee, subscription fee for my channel or for my website is like £4,327,000, but for this one Black Friday only, you can have it for the whole year for $1.75. And I'm like, yeah, you must be really good, mate, if you're selling a year's worth of subscription for $1.75. And the other one is I don't know if you've seen this recently, but you know, you get the ads before you watch a YouTube thing. It used to be the one with this woman who used to go, you make really great photos. Why don't you make... Anyway, that really annoyed me, but this is a new one where you got this bald guy.
This ain't room 101.
No,
this is just a rant.
No.
This is just you moaning.
There's this bald guy who says, what's the best way to make money in 2022? Is it course creation? Is it doing something else? And like, as soon as I can, I'm like that. Get off. Anyway, yeah, that's me. With those, I've got my own coming up. That was just an addendum.
That was just a little filler, was it?
Yeah, that was just an addendum to Sam's. Yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, well, if you're ready, Daz, you can go now if you want with yours.
Well, I do think now that to put in room 101 is that you shouldn't be allowed to heavily promote Christmas before December.
That was mine.
Well, you took too long about whinging about YouTube adverts.
I'm with you now. I'm totally with you.
I think that it's like, joking aside, I mean, we all know what Christmas is about, and we all know who we've got to buy for. Every single year we know who we've got to buy for. And if you've got a young family, you know that you've got to start buying kind of, you know, perhaps in November or even earlier, you know, to kind of spread the money out. But yeah, I just think that, I know people say, oh, it's getting earlier and earlier, but yeah, it does kind of drive me a little bit crazy when, as soon as you get to November, it's this big drive and this big focus on Christmas. You know, I just think, come on, stop it.
There's a music channel. Music was my main moan with this. There's a music channel called Trace Vault, I think it's called, and they changed to Trace Christmas at the beginning of September. So you've got Christmas music you've got to skip through at the beginning of September. Unbelievable.
I mean, I love Christmas, don't get me wrong, especially as a builder, because that is why, you know, that was the only time that I could ever guarantee a holiday, because the industry shut down. So it was great for me, because you knew, right, get to Christmas and have 2 weeks off. You know, I love Christmas. I loved it for the kids. I loved it for myself. You know, I loved everything about it. And I'm getting worse now. This huge kind of 2-month build up to it. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, totally agree.
There you go. Room 101.
That's one of mine gone, but I'm sure I'll find another one along the way.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Dave?
British weather. Just as a quick throwaway.
Yep.
No, I've actually got something that's vlogging related that I just think is a real frustration and a waste of time. mostly because I've invested a humongous amount of money in it over the years, and that's gimbals. I hate gimbals. I love the effect of them. I can't bear wobbly footage. But I've probably bought 5 or 6 gimbals in the last 3 or 4 years. Each one, you know, it's almost like where you go out to take a picture and you think, oh, this is going to be really good. It's going to be better than the last time. And you always have that optimism about you until you trudge home soaking wet with like nothing on the card. It's the same, or when you, like, you know, Jamie, you'll relate to this, and Sam, I'm sure, and Darren, of course, back in the day, when you go fishing, every time you head out, it's like, it's a new day, oh, I'm going to catch something today, and you come home and you've blanked, and it's like...
Yeah.
So I've bought gimbals, and I've balanced them and tried them around the house. They're terrific. And they're always total crap when it really comes to trying to use them. They're bulky and awkward shape to carry about. They weigh a ton. That's why I used the little Pocket 2 for such a long time, because it's got this little built-in gimbal that you don't have to balance. But yeah, I've got 2 here now that are got covered in cobwebs. They're never going to get that. You know, let's be fair. I'm going to be giving them away for the photo comp. Hope to God somebody will take them off me.
No, talk to me, Dave. Talk to me. I'll buy them off you. Seriously.
They're rubbish. They are total rubbish.
I have been not using a gimbal, and I miss them so much.
Well, the thing to do, Gary, is put an anonymous photo in and try and win the competition.
I've got a brilliant one of the lakes with a tree, and it's really bright though. Oh dear! No, I've been finding it the opposite. I'm really missing a gimbal. I think it's because I'm used to it though. I'm used to it, and it's for me. I think it's because I've been using the Pocket 2, and if I try and do anything using the screen, I can't see it. It's too small for me. And then I can't use it with the phone because it just doesn't feel. I like that. I like the weight of the gimbal. I like a weightier thing. So I'm actually really missing. I'm really missing the gimbal, I have to say. So yeah, totally.
I must admit, I wouldn't know if I'd go so far as to put them in room 101, but I kind of agree with Dave, because I've really, I really wanted to get a gimbal. I just thought, that would kind of add something. But when the amount of stuff that we carry, and I just thought it's just something else, it's just, and it's another bit of faff as well, as Dave said, putting it on, balancing it, big bit of kit, and I just thought, is that something? Yeah. When I looked at my camera kit, and I just thought, if I did own one and I put that in my camera bag and I had to take something out imaginary to save some weight, the gimbal will be the first thing to come out. And I'm thinking, what?
I see all you people nodding, going, yeah. You got a second tripod. You run around with a second tripod.
Yeah, but you'd have to set that up.
No, but it's massive. It's like it's massive. Like a gimbal's not as big as a second tripod.
Tiny, my little Benro. Light, tiny, transportable.
Well, I used to
figuring and balancing and all that crap. I'm totally with Dave.
Yeah,
I got one of those Osmo mobile things, whatever they're called, for your phones. I bought it and used it once, and it's just stuck in the cupboard.
I think there are certain gimbals though that aren't good, and I think there's a because what they've done, gimbal manufacturers, is they're trying to have this design where it clicks and folds down, but when it does that, the arm of it then inhibits the phone, and you can't use it properly. But if you get this, you just haven't had the right gimbal yet.
So I used to have I used to have a Fayutech one for my GoPro, and I must admit I did actually quite like it at the time.
Yeah.
But it was, as Dave said, it was just such a faff, and sticking it in the bag, and it had a little carry case, but it was really bulky. And I think I'd probably put it into the same sort of category as drones in that respect, because I've never used a drone. I've never owned one. I would quite like to have a drone, especially for sort of mountain shots and things, but I do think it would be a real pain to have to carry about all the time. And with the gimbal as well, maybe not so much because it was working with the GoPro, and then when I went up to the M50 took up more space. But I was so sort of paranoid about breaking it and worried about turning it on and it suddenly, jiggering it. But I was quite glad when I lost the GoPro because it meant I didn't need the gimbal anymore.
You've got an M50 on a tripod. It's massive. It's like that's the biggest, chunkiest thing to carry about. Like a little gimbal with a little phone on. It's like dinky.
Yeah, but I don't think a gimbal replaces a tripod, though, does it? Realistically,
Yeah.
You do.
No.
Well, for the vlogging side, yeah, I don't carry two tripods. I've just got a phone. I've just got my gimbal and my phone, and that's so walk pasts in slow motion. Gimbal.
So unless I'm doing like a big hike, I would rather carry the second tripod so I can have the camera set up fixed somewhere to talk to.
Yeah.
And it's only if I'm doing something like hiking up a mountain where I've got a little mini tripod which just screws on the bottom, and that's probably the only instance where I'd use a gimbal, and then I wouldn't take the gimbal because I'm going up a mountain. So yeah, I'm happy with it with the second tripod.
Well, I'm not having it. I'm not having this gimbal. It's not going in room 101. I love a gimbal. I love them. Anyway.
Also, I reckon that because I haven't shot much with the R5, but the R5 has got good in-body stabilization, and a lot of the
Very
cameras
good.
now, the in-body stabilization, I think, is getting to the stage where you don't need a gimbal to be able to do smooth panning shots. So I think gimbals won't be needed in a
You
while.
can't keep it. You can't do that level. You can't keep it level with the horizon. You can't do a crane shot without a gimbal. It's not possible. It's not
Sounds
possible.
like Mr. Miyagi.
I'm just trying to get Fiotech to send me a new gimbal. That's all it is. If you're listening, Fiotech. Yeah. No, I really like gimbals. So I get your point, but you're wrong.
Fair enough.
Right, come on, Jay. Apart from jaundice, what are you putting in?
Honestly, I can't think of anything. The only thing I can think of on that subject is a webcam that doesn't make me look as though I need a blood transfusion, really. I think that's what I need to put in 101 is dodgy webcams that you can't access the properties to change them so you look bloody normal.
Oh, he's frozen. It's me. Oh,
As if to
you
underline
guys
the
have been
point.
going
exactly. Yeah.
You've been disappearing on and off all night long, so I reckon it's my turn for having a dodgy reception tonight.
Excellent.
The
Oh,
trouble
good.
is, Jay, that having sort of bombed out on this topic, by the end of next week, you'll have thought of 27 things that you would have put in.
No, I know exactly. Yeah, but because this wasn't in the chat as something we're going to talk about, I haven't prepared for it.
It was in the chat.
Well, yeah, but you put it in, but you didn't sort of confirm it was in, and I haven't. All right, it's my fault. I've not prepared.
Well, I'll tell you what then. Let's put Gary in room 101. This week. All in favour? Gaz is in room 101. That's it.
Gaz and his
You're
gimbals.
sacked.
My room 101 is people who don't read messages in chat.
Oh dear.
Yeah. No, my room 101. I've got a couple. Christmas was one. Early Christmas was one. Getting old. I know the alternative's worse, but getting old and
Or
being
getting young.
No, dying. Because if you don't get old, you just die, don't you?
Jimmy
But
Button.
getting old is a nightmare. I'm not enjoying it. Everything's going wrong. When I was in my 20s, I was just like, oh, chips. Whoa. Actually, when I was in my 30s and 40s. Whoa, chips, beer. Now everything's going wrong with me. And
Whoa. Hang on a second.
What?
Last weekend, so no more than 7 days ago, it was chips and beer all weekend.
I know, this is the problem.
So it's not like, oh, in my 20s it was chips and beer. We're
That's what I
talking
said.
7 days ago it was chips
all
and
right,
beer.
okay. Up until earlier on today, whey, chips and beer. And then, I got a phone call. I got a phone call from my doctors, right? And they said, Mr. Norman, you need to come in and do a blood pressure thing, and you need to do a blood test because we haven't. I'm like they're the worst. They're the worst doctors in the world. It's like they don't do blood tests there anymore. You can't get an appointment till 2029 or something. And they're phoning me saying we're going to stop your medication if you don't come in. Anyway, so I went in this morning and did a blood test and a blood pressure thing, and then the doctor phoned and said. She actually phoned me and she said, "Hello, are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, thanks." She said, "Well, you've given in a blood pressure test. Is there something that you want to talk about?" And I was like, "No, you told me to. Someone from reception told me to do it." She went, "Oh, right." I said, "Why? Is it all right?" And she went, "Are you getting any lights in front of your eyes?" I said, "No." Any headaches? No. Oh, all right. Well, it's probably nothing to worry about. But if you could do a test like 3 times a day now for the next 5 days and just, mark down your results. And if it goes over a certain number, if you could give us a call, that'd be really great. And I'm like, it's going over a certain number at the moment. So yeah, it's getting old. Getting old and the things that are associated with it, that can go into...
Right, well, I'll tell you what, I think it was... I only heard this this saying a few days ago, or this quote a few days ago. And I don't know where it came from originally. I've got an idea, but I don't want to say it in case I misquote him. But the saying is, eat your food like medicine, otherwise you'll be taking your medicine like food. And I thought that was great, actually. That's bang on the money, because, I think we can all say, well, I don't know about you guys, I can't speak for you guys, but, I've certainly kind of, not paid the best attention to what I've ate, especially in my younger years. I'm getting a little bit better now, a little bit stricter now, but I think that's a great thing. If you could eat to stay healthy and really look at what you're eating, I think you'll have a far healthier life moving into kind of the later stages of life. And I think now, I know myself now, I have to be careful what I eat. I can't lose the fat like I used to. It's simple.
Well, thanks for telling me that 25 years too late. I mean, I really appreciate it. Thanks for that. But if you're young, if you're young, you're not watching us, are you? And if you're old and curmudgeonly, then it's too late for you. I'm sorry, it's too late. But
no, it's never too late, mate.
No, you know what? You're right. It is never too late. I have 2 big bottles of beer in my fridge, and they didn't come out tonight, so you can see that it's like made me think, ooh.
Well, this is my first beer since last weekend, so I don't drink during the week. No. Friday night and Saturday, that's it.
Yeah. So, and I did have another one for Room 101, which is I'm doing you all a favour, by the way, here. Oh, don't you hate dark nights?
That's like that one was almost scripted. It was so good.
Yeah, it's almost like we said, let's talk about dark nights before we started, wasn't it? Don't you hate dark nights? I'd put dark nights into Room 101. What about Dave? You guys?
You lead the way on this one, Dave, because you was the one that actually, I think, brought this up.
Well, because you sort of said, what you're drinking, and I just thought, I don't drink whiskey much until kind of after Halloween. And, I'll drink it through till Easter, something like that. I don't think it's a very sort of summery drink. But I actually don't mind dark nights. I like that it brings golden hours closer together and makes them more accessible. You've just put up some fabulous pictures from this time of year. So for me, it doesn't bother me too much. I would like it to be more sort of mellow and misty and still and all that sort of thing weather-wise, because certainly where I live, it's just horrible all the time. It's all very well having somewhere scenic, but it is permanently pissing down this last 3 months. So, but no, I don't mind. I don't mind the seasons. I kind of like. I mean, another thing is, I'm going to say it, but I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, and in the summer, it's like when I was a kid, and like your mum calls you in, and your mates are still playing out, and you feel like you're missing out. And I'd be lying in bed, there'd be a great sunset, and I think I should be down the beach with a camera, but actually, I'm just getting into a bit of YouTube, and then I'll be asleep by 8:30. Happy days.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though. It's like how different it is. Say 8 o'clock in the winter to 8 o'clock in the summer. So like 8 o'clock in the summer, I might still be playing cricket on a Wednesday night, and I'm like 8 o'clock in the winter. I'm like, I can't see anything. I'm driving along where all these cars are coming out of nowhere. It's cold. It's dark. No, don't like it. When's your birthday?
Who, me?
Yeah.
July
the 14th.
Oh, okay. Well, that's no use then. I was going to say, because like my family, the ones who are born in the winter love the winter, and the ones who are born in the summer love the summer. But obviously, that's a load of old crap. So yeah.
Well, it is, because I'm the same. I'm a July, and I love the winter.
Do you?
I love this. I used to love the summer more when I was younger, I was a proper sun worshipper, probably too much, to be fair. I spent a long time out in the sun.
Yeah, now look at
summer
you, liver
holidays.
failure.
Exactly, yeah, look what's happened to me. Yeah. I used to love it, but now I much prefer the dark winter nights, cozying up, in front of a false electric fire. And yeah, I just love it, and I love, as Dave says, the fact that you haven't got to get out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning for a sunrise or 2 o'clock in the morning for a sunrise, and who cares about sunsets anyway? It's the sunrises that count. So getting up early, and there's lovely cold, crisp, frosty mornings where you're crunching your way through. You're the first one there. You can see the deer's breath as it's breathing out in the morning, and you can just enjoy that coldness on your skin.
In your budgie
Brilliant.
smugglers.
Yeah.
See, there's a difference here, though. Now we're talking about seasons, and I'm with you guys. I absolutely love the winter. I love that cold, and it can be some real miserable weather, but that can also bring some great conditions, some great light. But if you're working, like most of us are, Monday to Friday, you don't really see those conditions. So for me, we're talking about, like, kind of dark nights, early nights. I said the other day, I spoke to my boy in Australia, and I just said, you know what, I feel a bit, not depressed. I'm not a really depressed person, but I just thought, we've got 4 months of this now. We've got all of November and December. Before then, we have to get into January, and then it starts to rack up again, to the end of February. And it's just that going work in the dark, coming home in the dark, and then waiting for the weekend. And then, if it's raining at the weekend, you can't get out, kind of thing. So I love the winter. I just the combination of working full time and dark nights, I just don't like it. Don't like it.
Yeah. No, you are right. I used to commute down to London 5 days a week, and I loved it in the summer. It's really lovely in London in the summer, working down there. There's so much buzz going on. But in the winter, when, as you say, you're getting the train down there in the dark, you're getting back in the dark. It's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. It's not nice. It's not nice at all to be working in those.
But it does get brightened up with the Christmas lights. Isn't it good they've put them up so early?
That's true, actually. That's a bonus. I didn't think of that. But I tell you, I don't know how these people live, on Svalbard or something like that, where it's just dark continuously. For I don't know how many is it?
It's 2.5 months of complete darkness. But they get northern lights all the time, so
that's true, But I couldn't. I don't.
And they get the counterpoint that they get the period, sort of spring and autumn, where it's sort of permanently blue hour or permanently golden hour.
Yeah.
So there's that trade-off. I have to say, it's somewhere I'd love to visit, Svalbard. Far more interested in going there than Iceland or Norway or somewhere like that.
Do you know what?
Fancy it.
I've seen a lot of wildlife photography on Svalbard, and it doesn't appeal to me at all. And there's a lady, she's got a channel, I forget the name of it, I don't watch it very
So you're thinking of Celia?
Celia, Dave, that's it.
We all stalk the same YouTubers.
I think we do, yes, Celia, that's it. And I didn't realise, so it's law that you have to carry a gun when you go out because of the polar bears. And I'm just thinking, why would
are they armed as well? Are they?
Yeah, they'll rob your camera off you.
They've got Uzis. But I was just thinking, how could you live in a place where you have to go out with a gun?
Well, ask Americans. I mean, any Americans listening? What's it like? Must be bad. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'd love to go to Svalbard, but I would be proper scared about being eaten by a polar bear. I don't think I'd be able to relax about it, but it does look absolutely stunning. But yeah, winter. I think since I got into photography, it's completely switched my view on things, and now I prefer winter to summer. And it's photography, I think, which has helped me make that change. But you're right, Darren. The flip side is going into work in the dark and coming home in the dark is just horrible.
Yeah.
And the problem is, of course, with winter as well, is because it's getting darker. When you do go out with your camera, you need to put it on a tripod.
Oh, look at that! Is smooth,
Seamless.
smooth.
Why don't we talk about tripods?
Yeah,
Just-
before
just
we, before
off the
we
top
do,
of my
can
head.
I just... Oh, two things, actually. I was about to say to you, can I go and open this door? Because this room is roasting with that fire on. And has anybody put their heating on yet? Because
No.
so far, I've not had no heating on yet this year.
No heat in
And-
here.
And we've got rid of the pond. Well, the pond's still there, but we've got rid of the fish. So I've turned all the pumps off. And I know we wasn't doing our meter readings regular, but about 6 months ago, 'cause I've only just kind of started to pay attention to British Gas and all this since everything's gone up, and we was £400 in debit, right? So obviously because we wasn't sending in our meter readings, and now we're £300 in credit because we ain't had the heating on, and we got rid of the the fish.
The servants aren't revolting, and that you.
No, they're not. I'll just prod them with a stick every now and again.
Yeah, just
So
say run
it's
around a bit.
fine.
Run around a bit.
Well, they're
You'll be
actually on the
right.
hamster wheel at the moment, generating all these lights.
That
So,
makes sense.
Right,
That
let me
makes
just
sense.
open that door. I was
Okay.
being me pants.
Okay, so as we were saying, we're going to move on now and talk about tripods. Well, it's not about tripods particularly. It's about using a tripod. And do we find now more that we're actually probably using the cameras handheld? Now, it's quite interesting, I think, because you probably got a good angle on this, Dave, because I've been looking at your camera and the stabilisation on that looks unbelievable. So, let's have a chat about that.
Yeah, it is. There's no two ways about it. To the extent that I can use the built-in ND filters and do long exposures on it. I've played around with it. I think the longest exposure I've done handheld and it was sharp was 4 seconds. But the problem for me is really thinking about a composition and being intentional about what's in the frame, what's not in the frame. And I much prefer to be on a tripod for that. So it's handy when I'm out and about and there's some light and you just, let's quickly grab that. That's great. But the features of the camera wouldn't entice me to not go out with a tripod at all, ever.
Yeah, I think I'm the same as well, Dave, if I can jump in on that, because I do quite a bit of handheld photography, and more and more I'm doing more handheld photography, particularly if I'm up mountains and things like that. And that shot which I showed you of the rain over in the Lake District was... That's the word I'm looking for. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, that's all right. You only nearly said it 4 times before.
Yeah, exactly. That was handheld, but it's what I like to do is tailor the composition with the camera on the tripod, and spend a lot of time actually getting it into the right position. And I find that if I'm handheld, it's difficult to get it, and because what I'll do is I'll tailor the composition, then wait for some light. And if you're in that situation, you can have it set up with your composition just tailored perfectly, and then just leave the camera on the tripod, and then capture it in different light conditions if the light's changing. And I find that compositionally a tripod is a good tool for helping with composition. So I'd still lug the tripod up the mountain if I can.
I would say that from the beginning, I'm a huge advocate of a tripod. Obviously, for a lot of my work in woodland, it needs that sort of compositional tweaking to get it right. Hence why I've got that geared head, which works perfectly for tweaking the compositions in woodland. But I must admit, while I was up the fell the other day, a couple of weeks ago with you guys, and reacting to that light, I really enjoyed the freedom of just having it handheld and just moving around, following the light, clicking away. And it really did get me thinking around how much handheld I don't do. So that's probably the only time I've handheld that camera properly since I've had it, in terms of sort of taking shots. I would 99% of the time was on a tripod, but I enjoyed the freedom of the handheld and the fact that you can just react, as Dave says, react to the light, or move around, or just change your composition easily without having to totally reconfigure your tripod. And when you're on a geared heads do try and force you to keep in one position and tweak very small elements of the composition. Whereas with your handheld, you can move around a lot easily and see a composition much easier with your feet rather than with a tripod. And it's no secret that I've got my eye on the R5 for an investment into next year, and that's purely because of the fact that the in-body stabilisation that camera's got will allow me to do a lot more handheld shooting. It's an interesting balance between the two. I would never get rid of my tripod. I love it, and it's integral to what I need in my photography. But I also would love to have the ability to switch between having the freedom of grabbing a shot quickly, knowing that I will be able to nail the focus quickly because of the stabilisation as well. But also then, keeping it on the tripod when I need to.
It's almost a different question, isn't it, in some respects, because perhaps the question should be, do you hike with your camera in your backpack or do you hike with it to hand? Because when that light happens, it can often be a matter of seconds, and by the time you put your bag down, it's all over.
Yeah, and that was, as I said when I went through my photos earlier on, that light that we got walking back down King's Hill, it was only fleeting. By the time I got the camera out of the bag and got it, even that was handheld, I'd missed the light. But you're right, you have it always on a peak design clip, don't you, hanging down, and just being able to unclip and take the shot. I really understood the benefit of that in that scenario. So
yeah, I've missed so many shots just by having the camera buried in the bottom of a bag, and I don't know if I could carry that whole big thing on the straps. So yeah, that's the benefit of Micro Four Thirds, David.
I don't know. I mean, when I was first introduced to it, Darren and I were out and about with a chap. We were going up the Glidders, and he said, "Oh, why don't you get one of these peak design clips?" And he was using a 5D Mark IV at the time. So it doesn't come much bigger than that with these 70 to 200. And as it happens, I've got a spare one going, which will be in the prize pot for the photography competition.
I'm definitely putting a photo.
Oh yeah, I'm now entering that now too.
Yeah, I'm putting photos.
Are you on Gmail later on, knocking up some dodgy email addresses?
Yeah. I think I'm going to call myself Jerry Newman. So if you see one from Jerry Newman, if there's a Jerry Newman watching, sorry, I'm stealing your name. The thing for me with handheld, which I was going to say, I do enjoy it. Obviously, for street, hand holding all the time, and for wildlife. But the thing that I found when we were up there and I was hand holding, is I was consistently forgetting the settings. Like, so I was almost like I'd take a few shots and go, and then I'd realise, I've got 1/30th of a second shutter on this, and it just looks rubbish. Or I've forgotten to change the ISO, and it's when you're on a tripod, I know that it's a slower process and you can't react, but I automatically, I'm on a tripod and I'm looking at the settings and changing it and then taking the shot. Whereas when I'm handheld, I'm almost like just going, light. And so
I'm with you on that, but I've got a workaround because I've done the same thing in the past. So I've got a custom setting for tripod and a custom setting for handheld, and one click of the dial, they're next to each other on the dial.
Yeah.
One click of the dial, and I've got some default handheld settings. So I've got ISO 400.
Okay.
I've got shutter speed of 1/400, and f5.6, which in your equivalent would be f11.
Yeah.
So one click of the dial, and I'm in handheld mode. Camera goes on the tripod. Click tripod mode. Now your camera's almost certainly got custom memories you can save to. So just do the same thing.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea, but I think it for me, it's almost like the process of having it on a tripod. It's like I'm thinking more about the shot. I think we got up there that day, for instance, and when I was going handheld, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd have had a custom setting. It wouldn't have mattered. And I was just like literally going, look at that, look at that. And then afterwards you go, oh, bloody hell, I've shot that all at ISO auto, or I've shot it all at, f4. What was I thinking? Why have I done that? I've twiddled the wrong thing in excitement or whatever, and it's, I just think having that tripod slows me down, but then sometimes you miss the shot. So,
Gary, do you use tripods for wildlife photography?
No.
Yeah, because it's the same. I kind of, because I most of my wildlife photography I don't use a tripod for, so I think it's kind of getting into the same mentality of.
Yeah, but the thing is with wildlife, the only thing I need to think about. So I've set an ISO range, and I'm on shutter priority, and regardless, I'm always wide open because I never set the shutter enough that it's going to shoot it at anything other than wide open ISO 100, for instance. So the only thing I'm changing is the shutter speed. So like literally I'm just adapting to the light, going, okay, it's quite dark, I'm going to need to bring it down to say 1/500th, otherwise I'm not going to get enough light in, or always lots of light, I'm going to push it up to 1/2500th, and it's like I don't have to think about the ISO, I don't have to think about the aperture. Whereas when I was shooting up there, for instance, I was on manual, and it was almost like my fingers were just going all over the shop, and when I looked at it, I was like, what am I doing? I'm shooting at like 1/25th of a second, like at f4. Well, what have I done? Yeah, so yeah, tripod for me in those instances.
Do you think though, because the newer cameras that are coming out now have got a lot better image stabilisation built into them than they ever had in the past, do you think that there'll become a point where tripods just aren't used as much purely because the cameras have got such better image stabilisation in them that you don't need a tripod?
Well, I'm going to answer that and echo what you guys have said. I mean, I think there's definitely a place for handheld, and even with the cameras that are coming out with great IBIS in them. And we have discussed this, I know when James Burns was on, but I love having a tripod and framing that shot and looking at it, and then I think James referred to it as a kind of an artist's easel, and I echo that. I really do. I think it's great, because you can tweak it, you can move it ever so slightly and get that frame right, or the composition right, and then you're waiting for the right light. I love that. I love working on a tripod.
It was one of the things actually. Sorry, Dan.
No. But having said that, there are times when working with a tripod is not beneficial at all when the light is moving so quickly. And I know we was on the top of King's How, and I was shooting near enough everything handheld, but all of a sudden the light got really bright, and that's when I quickly threw it on the tripod just so I could bracket a couple of shots just to control them really bright clouds, or the sun that was kind of starting to shine through the clouds, and just bracket the shot. So I think there's a place, but I think like you guys have all said, I certainly wouldn't ever, unless it was wildlife and I was just popping over to Wick and Fen, then I'd quite happily just take my camera and nothing more. But if I was going on a landscape shoot, I wouldn't go anywhere without my tripod.
I think the thing is, Jamie, you were saying about IBIS and it improving. I think the thing that a tripod gives you is consistency, and it's consistent replication of a shot. So, for instance, like here's a really good example. Say you're Dave, and you're shooting that blended scene. Can't do that handheld.
No,
can't do it. Not possible. And if you're like Sam says, if you get that image and you nail it, you nail that competition, and you're waiting for the light, can't replicate that handheld. You can get close to it, but you can't get exactly that composition without it being mounted onto something. So I don't think personally it'll ever replace, but it's brilliant because there are times when you want to be handheld. I mean, I would love to go to London and be able to shoot a shot of, say, someone standing still while a bus goes past, and have that perfectly sharp, everything else perfectly sharp. Can't do it on my camera at the moment, but yeah, I'd love that facility. But in terms of landscape, I would never not have a tripod with me.
Yeah.
Well, as Darren was saying, it's kind of comes down to a feel thing about it. It's the IBIS will get to a point where technically you probably don't need a tripod, And I think the main reason we use tripods is so that we can drop to ISO 100 and we can don't have to worry if the exposure is a bit longer. And IBIS, I think, almost already is at a stage where most of the time you can shoot at ISO 100 and not worry too much about exposure length. But there's this feel thing about it. It's an artistry type of some sort of inexplainable thing about having a camera set up on a tripod that is a part, for me, of landscape photography. And it's one of the things which made me first fall in love with landscape photography. Was I remember being sat next to the side of a loch before dawn, just with a camera set up on a tripod in the dark, and it was just seeing that little red light on whilst I was doing a long exposure. And it's just something like that which is kind of, from a technical point of view, it doesn't really matter too much. It's just a feel thing about it that makes me enjoy using a tripod.
I couldn't agree more, because what Jamie was talking about earlier when he said, we were talking about dark nights, and Jay was describing how he feels in the winter, them frosty mornings. There is so much more to photography than just taking the photo. It is all of them feelings, and as you guys have kind of mentioned, for me, I've been out in the lakes, or it might even be kind of like local round here, but you get them really cold, frosty mornings. You're framed up, you've got your camera on the tripod, you're pouring yourself a steaming hot cup of coffee, waiting for the light, because you're ready, your camera's set up. It's a great feeling, right? I'm here, just waiting for that sunrise or that break in the cloud, and you've got your hands wrapped around a coffee. It's a great feeling. If I could bottle that feeling, I really would.
It's the same thing.
Go on.
It's the same thing I used to get from carp fishing as well, where you've got your rods out on your vests. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. I bet you that very, very few of the entries in this year's Landscape Photographer of the Year weren't taken on tripods. Talking about that, shall we move on to Landscape Photographer
He's a genius. He's an absolute genius.
See what I did there?
It's like he's got the questions written down. I don't know how he does it.
You see what I did there? Yeah. So I think we're not gonna go through the photos. We will do, because I'd love for us to look at some of the photos. I think we'll do that the next time we're recording. But maybe we could just have a really quick chat before we go about how we feel. I mean, no, what does it matter what we think, really? But how do you feel about this year's Landscape Photography of the Year? Because I personally think the quality is so much better than last year.
Very strong this year. Very strong. Yeah. I think was it last year? I think we all kind of raised our eyebrow with the winner.
And the winners in most categories as well.
But this year, I thought the photos this year were very strong. Yeah.
I'd also give a shout out to some of the youth photographers as well, because some of my favourite images were actually from the youth categories as well, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah. I mean, we will look at the photos. We will go through the photos in the next podcast, I think, and have a look through some of them. But for me, I'll tell you what I found this year, and I don't know whether it's because, I don't know whether the judges have changed. I don't know whether they've added more landscape photography judges, but a lot of the photos were very recognisable places and very recognisable styles. So that, like last year, I noticed a lot of them, they weren't anything like you see on social media. So, like, we all follow a lot of very good photographers on Twitter, like some of the best, I would say. And last year, the style of the photos in general on Landscape Photography of the Year wasn't anything like the style that was coming through on Twitter. Whereas this year, it feels like those styles are very similar, but also there's a lot more very recognisable places this year, I felt, compared to last year. I don't know whether that's judging, they've changed the judges, or they've changed the criteria, or what, but yeah, I just noticed that.
I think last year we felt that some of the images that got either won or became commended we put them in that category of maybe we could have done better type thing, and that's not being big-headed, but you know what I mean. It's that position where somebody that's won is in our opinion probably there's lots of other images out there that probably were better, but I think this year you're looking at the images and you got a lot of respect for
Yeah.
the quality of the
Yeah.
images that are in there, and
Yeah.
you in every category, as Sam said,
Yeah.
the young category was fantastic. As the black and whites, I thought were brilliant. I think there's some in every single category. You look at them and think, yeah, you really got a lot of respect for the effort that's gone in, but just the whole look and feel of the images are just so much better.
Although I'm
I
going
know
to put
about
my
you.
hand up and say, I didn't think the winning image was as strong as some of the others in there. I thought
No,
there
but
were
that is all subjective, and I kind of agree with
course.
you, Gal. There was other images in there that I thought were more pleasing to me than the winner. But I appreciate the winner, and
Yeah,
I
so
can
do I.
understand.
Yeah.
I can understand why that won. That's absolutely fine, and I've got no problems with the winning image. But I think what we're all kind of saying, you know, that this year I just think that they'd raised the bar quite high.
yeah,
And I was looking through them, and and what Jay says, you know, sometimes you look at an image and you just think, oh, that's, you know, no better than I've seen my friends take, or, you know, other people that I follow on Twitter. But this year, it did kind of stop me thinking, wow, that's good, that's good, that's good. That,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it was difficult. So yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to all these guys that got in.
yeah. There were some absolutely excellent images this year.
And I tell you what, going back to our challenge that we've got coming up towards the end of the year with the photo Pubcast entries, I think there's a lot of fantastic images in
There
there. And I
is.
think we're gonna struggle to be able
Yeah,
to narrow those
definitely.
down. I think looking at what we've already had in,
Yeah,
there's
please
some
keep
top
them
quality
coming.
images in there.
Yeah, and absolutely, as Dad says, keep them coming in because, you know, you want to make, you know, we want you to make our job as hard as possible. We've still got Dave's got a master plan for marking and scoring, which we need to all chat about. But that will be coming up the first week in December. So you're right. There's some excellent entries in that as well. So some very good ones.
6 weeks
Right.
of Christmas.
Oh, don't.
Is anybody watching I'm a Celebrity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so who's watching? Three. It's just three of us.
Yeah.
If the five of us was watching, I was going to say let's have a prediction on who's going to win. But if it's only 3 out of,
Well, I can have a prediction on who isn't going to win.
then you can't say Matt Hancock straight away.
Why not?
I don't know. That was just
For those interested, I know you guys aren't watching. I think Jill Scott will win.
Do you?
that's a good
Yeah.
shout, actually, Jill Scott.
Yeah, she's
I
the
think-
loveliest person.
She is
She
good.
She's very good.
Yeah.
I think Babatundi's a bit of. Is it Babatunde?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Babatunde.
Yeah, I think he's quite a likeable chappy. I think he'll do well.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah,
who's your money on? Yes, no, you're right, Dave. Mike Tyndall could do it. Yes, I agree. Yeah, good thinking there. Good thinking. Sam?
Boy George is in it, isn't he?
Yes,
I don't
Boy
know.
George is in
Right,
it.
Sam's going with Boy George.
Yeah.
So come on, let's have a couple of predictions, and we'll just pick one for Dave, and just out of random, and see if he actually wins it. So, what are you going with? So, Jay, you're going with Jill,
No, I'm going with
No,
Jill.
Oh,
he's
you're
Jill,
going
I'm
with Jill.
Babatunde. Yeah.
Babatunde, and you're going with Boy George.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll win
Right.
it.
Long
I'll
as he
go
doesn't
with-
lock up a
He's-
rent boy, he'll be
He's
all
the
right.
only one I've heard of.
I'll
Apart
go
from-
with Scarlett. It is Scarlett.
Oh
isn't it?
yeah, she's nice.
yeah.
as well.
She's
Yeah,
really nice. Yeah.
yeah.
So I must admit, I would have gone. I think Jill will probably win it, but as it's been
Yeah,
said, I'll
I
go
think
with Scarlett.
we should give Dave the hunk. What's it? I don't know. The guy, is he on Love Island? or
Oh,
something?
oh my,
The
oh my
yeah.
God, he's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
He's so funny. Okay, well, I think that's actually. Can I do one more Room 101 before we go?
Oh.
Because
If it's a genuine and not a bitch and a moan.
Anyway, it's been lovely to have you on, to have you all here this week with us. We're not here next week. Please keep sending in the photos. Any more questions? Oh, I'll tell you one thing. People have talked about beer. They've given us loads of suggestions for beers. So we will do another one of those, but we can't guarantee that it won't be an absolute car crash. But we will get some beers in. Maybe we'll do that for the Christmas one. We'll get a few beers in. And,
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm going to put in Room 101.
Oh,
Right, last week, right, we went to the crocodile farm at Huntingdon.
oh yeah.
If you've never been there, I suggest you go. It's fantastic. And I just bought one bottle of beer. I thought, I'm going to try this Ghost Ship. Right? I think I kind of heard of Ghost Ship.
I'll drink that.
Well, it's
got it at home.
Jamie's beer.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I like Ghost Ship.
So I thought, well,
You gonna
I'll
slag it off?
try a Ghost Ship. It was the alcohol-free Ghost Ship. It was
Oh.
the 0.5%. Oh, it tasted disgusting. It was a citrus kind of powwow or whatever it was. I can't remember, but I took 2 mouthfuls and it was dear. It was like £4 a bottle. And I literally just tipped it away. I thought, oh, I can't drink
Nah,
this.
it must be the lack of alcohol in it then that you didn't
Yeah.
like, because the normal
So that's going
alcohol
in room
version is
101.
nice.
Okay, fair enough. Well, there you go. A late entrant. So anyway, thanks ever so much for watching. Keep the questions coming in. Keep the photos coming in. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. And until then, we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
See you guys. Bye
See
bye.
ya.
See ya.
Bye bye.